Welcome to the Pennsylvania Pre-K through 4 Educator Certification Test. This is Module 3 Masterclass. In this class, you will learn the most important need-to-know topics all covered in your Module 3 exam. These will include the foundations of mathematical learning, the foundations of scientific learning, as well as the foundations of learning in motor development and health. This masterclass is designed to be your one-stop shop to help you pass Module 3 of your Pre-K through 4 exam. My name is Elliot Zelinskis, and I'll be your test prep instructor for this exam. I'm a credentialed teacher myself, and now it's my job to help you pass your Pre-K through 4 teacher certification test. Before we get started, I know how difficult preparing for teacher certification exams are, so I've made something that makes passing easy. It's called Cracking the Pre-K through 4. It's my free email course filled with test prep resources that make studying and preparing simple. Start by heading to the top of your browser and typing in www.teacherpreps.com/pre-k-4-PECT-exam. That's the link that you see on your screen right now. Have a look at our test prep offerings and get access to our full test prep for your Pre-K through 4 exam, which includes study guides, quizzes, and full-length timed practice tests. Now, for the free resources, scroll all the way down to the bottom, click that blue button labeled Get Study Materials, and let me send you this email right now. All right, it's time to get started. Talking about Module 3, the test design. So there are 45 selected response questions on this test where you'll receive 90 minutes to complete all of Module 3. And this gives you a total of 2.5 minutes to complete each question. Now, furthermore, if there's a total of 45 questions in Module 3, and there are 3 sub-areas, remember that's math, science, and health, these equally have the same weight for the exam. So that means you can expect approximately 15 questions for each of the areas on your test. Next, you will have 15 minutes to complete a testing tutorial prior to beginning your exam. And if you're registered to take all 3 modules during a single test session, you will have a 15-minute break between each module. Now, rest assured that this Module 3 Test Prep Masterclass aligns with the official Pre-K through 4 exam specifications created by the original test makers. So if you need to pass this exam, you found the right place. I'm happy you're here, and let's get you that passing score. Now, without further ado, let's begin with understanding the developmental foundations of mathematical learning and problem solving and assessment, instruction, and intervention for your Pre-K through 4 students and your exam, all about the foundations of mathematical learning. So for this exam, you'll receive questions about the foundations of mathematical learning, about strategies for differentiating mathematics instruction, assessment in math, knowledge of number sense, as well as instructional strategies for teaching algebra, geometry, and measurement. Next, we have supporting children's development in learning data analysis as well as probability. All right, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you appreciate this video, and then go ahead, copy the link above, and share it with your bestie in your teacher preparation program, as well as make sure to smash that subscribe button if you want all of my Pre-K through 4 Module 3 videos. All right, so starting with developmental foundations of math in learning for young children. Now, beginning with number sense development, where children at the age of between 2 to 3, they begin having the ability to count verbally. So first forwards and then backwards. Now, for spatial sense and geometry, children at this age, they're actually able to recognize basic shapes such as circles and squares. And then also for moving now to the ages of between 3 to 4, now children here, they can begin understanding one-to-one correspondence, which is counting each object as it corresponds to each number. Now remember, the information that I'm providing you here you can use on test day by simply flipping it upside down, reverse engineering it. Because if you get a question on your exam that says something like, which is the beginning level of understanding one-to-one correspondence for the foundations of math, you know it's between that 3 to 4 age range. Now let's talk about their spatial sense and geometry ability, beginning with understanding spatial relationships. They can also understand simple prepositions, so you can think about in, on, under, over, words like that. And now for their measurement abilities, 3 to 4-year-olds can begin understanding simple size and length concepts, such as bigger, smaller, longer, shorter. All right. Now, at that 4 to 5 age range, children begin recognizing patterns and relationships between numbers, for example, more than, less than, right? Now, for their basic geometry concepts, they can understand symmetry, which is why we will often do things, activities, including for math, such as when it's wintertime, we might cut the snowflake and we can see that the symmetry of the snowflake. All right, and then beginning with their measurement concepts for students now, age 4 to 5, they can begin using basic measurement tools like rulers and scales to measure the concept of bigger and smaller. All right, and then these 4 to 5-year-olds then begin understanding the basics of data analysis and probability, which sounds like really complex words, but remember that we're still teaching these concepts, but we're doing it in a simple way. So children at that 4 to 5 age range can understand and predict outcomes in simple probability situations. And you can think of, look at the picture here, we have someone flipping the coin. So heads or tails, right? All right, excellent. Now, in this section, you will learn strategies for implementing, modifying, and differentiating your math instruction from all the way that pre-K through 4th grade setting. So let's start with thinking about your exam and knowing that your exam will check your understanding for effective ways to implement developmentally appropriate math instruction. That's what this entire section is about. So when reading solutions when taking your exam, look at the multiple choice questions and be on the lookout for these following things. First of all, always be looking for a solution, A, B, C, or D, that uses math manipulatives and concrete materials. You can think of building blocks and all types of things where children can get their hands on in order to learn. Think about physical objects like counters, coins, as we talked about before, and all of this helps children understand abstract concepts by making them tangible. So again, use what I'm sharing with you in this masterclass to think what the question might be. So if you get a question on test day that asks you, how can you make an intangible or abstract mathematics idea tangible, look for a solution that uses concrete materials like a block or a counter or a coin. All right, another effective math instruction strategy that I want to share with you is using interactive learning strategies by incorporating games, songs, stories within your mathematical themes and topics and lessons that you're teaching. Again, these help children engage in the lesson. So if you get a question on test day that asks you what's an appropriate way to engage learners in math, think about songs, chants, dances, and that will help make learning more memorable for our students. All right, next we have using real world connections, another math strategy that we as teachers want to use everyday objects. So we don't need expensive weights or scales or anything like that. We can just use the images that you see right on the screen right now, a juice box or the students' lunches, weight, length, height, use what they're already familiar with in order to incorporate that and these everyday objects into your math lesson. And if you get a question on test day that has a response using real world connections, it's probably the right response that you want to look for. All right, so next, also integrate technology into your classroom and into your math lessons. Use educational apps and digital tools that are suitable for our young learners. This helps modernize, freshen, and make your lessons pop with kids because we all know they love working on the iPads. All right, so now regarding modifying and differentiating instruction, I want to share with you this topic next. So if you get a question on test day about how to accommodate a different way for children to learn, look for a solution that uses multiple senses. So think visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile activities. That will more than likely be the right response that you'll want to select. Now, in order to ensure that no child is left behind, every child needs to be appropriately challenged. So whether you have a struggling student in math, you've got the student who is just right on target, they are not below, not too above, they're just right at that standard, or you have your high flying, gifted, advanced learner, then they all need to be equally challenged, even if that means providing more practice, using differentiated materials. The point of this is that the pacing and complexity is important for your math practice, and we can adjust the speed and complexity based on all of our students' readiness and math skills that they come to our classroom with. All right, now, if you receive a question that asks about the most appropriate way to give more personalized attention and support to a student, look for an answer that uses small group and individualized instruction. Then, if your question asks you about how might you appropriately increase engagement and motivation, look for a response that integrates children's interests, like adding dinosaurs or adding space to the math lessons. So how many rockets are there? Or how many horns does the dinosaur have? Things like that. So they'll be excited about the math, not because of the math, maybe, but because of the way that you integrate their interests into your lessons. All right, now here I want to share with you a comprehensive yet streamlined guide on selecting appropriate assessments, interpreting the results of your assessments, and utilizing the results of instruction in your math lessons. So starting with the different types of assessments, which include screening assessments. Remember, these are used to identify children at risk of developmental delays or learning disabilities. Remember that screening assessments are brief and they are often administered at the beginning of the year, the unit, the lesson. And an example would be a quick screening to gauge basic number sense or counting skills. All right, next assessment we have is the diagnostic assessment, which helps us educators to understand specific learning needs and difficulties. These exams are detailed and they are focused on uncovering the root cause of learning or challenges that our students may be facing. And these diagnostic assessments, they're more in-depth. And they help diagnose issues like dyscalculia. So our next assessment we want to talk about is the benchmark assessment. And these are used by teachers to gauge progress against a standard benchmark or a specific learning objective, or again, a standard that we need to, by the end of the lesson, the unit, or the semester, or the year, make sure that our students are demonstrating an understanding for. These tests are given periodically, these benchmark assessments, and they are often aligned with a curriculum that we're teaching. All right, and then midterm tests are an example of benchmark assessments, and they will cover a range of mathematical concepts. And then there are formative assessments, and these are used to monitor the progress and to inform our teaching and our instruction of based off what they're currently learning. Remember that formative assessments are informal assessments. They're integrated into the daily learning. They might just be a question that you ask during the middle of the lesson to see how many hands go up, to see how many students are able to answer a question. Perhaps you just taught a lesson and you provided 1, 2, or 3 examples. You might pause and double check the understanding of the current student status. All right, so examples of formative assessments include classroom observations, where you're giving an assignment, you're giving a task or an activity, and you're jotting down in your teacher journal who is demonstrating an understanding and ability to effectively complete the task that you just gave them. It might be a quiz, or it might be a small project as well. Now, the last type of assessment that you'll be asked about on your exam is the summative assessment. And these help evaluate cumulative learning at the end of an instructional period, like a larger period that might be a chapter, a unit, a semester, or at the end of the year. All right, so remember that summative assessments are our formal assessments in order to gauge the learning outcomes of our students. Now, examples of summative assessments include end of unit tests and final end of the year projects. Now, keep in mind that for you and I, us teachers, giving the test is just the beginning of the cycle, where the next step is to actually interpret the results that we receive as feedback from our students. Now, in doing so, we're looking for patterns and errors and areas of strength and weakness. Now, in order to assess the progress of our students over time, we provide assessments. So remember that assessments they give us feedback based off a specific skill, but we do it continuously throughout the year so that we have the progress of, for example, math studies in that grade for the entire year. All right, our next step as teachers is to use the assessment results in order to guide future instruction, to help us inform us to base our next lesson plans and small group activities. And therefore, we need to use the results that we gather to identify topics that we need to reteach in order for the students to have more time to grasp those topics, those materials. Finally, we use assessment results in our instruction in order to tailor our lesson plans to address specific gaps in knowledge or understanding that either individual students are expressing or groups of students are expressing through their assessments, where we can put those students together, work with them in small groups in order to help them achieve that standard that we're teaching. In summary, as you learned from this lesson, effective teaching in numbers, number sense, operation, algebra, geometry, measurement, and data analysis, as well as probability for our pre-K through 4 exam, our students need a blend of hands-on learning, visual tools, real-world connections, interactive play, and consistent practice over and over again. So when taking your exam, look for solutions that utilize a variety of materials and technologies, such as the chips, the coins, the blocks, as well as digital software and interactive resources like games, card games, board games, that we can all use for our math lessons. All right, next, welcome to a check-in. Let's pause right here. Kind of ask yourself how well you feel you already knew some of the material that I just shared. What material do you need to look at deeper? In order to do so, make sure you check out the study guide, and that will go into the depth that you need. So next, let's go for quiz number 1 of module 3. Now, for those who are enrolled into the full test prep course already, just click the red button labeled module 1 quiz 1 underneath the video that you're watching if you're logged in to the Teacher Preps login. This will help check and gauge your understanding of the quiz 1 module 3 content specifications that you need to be ready on test day 4. All right, now if you haven't yet signed up for the full test prep, but you did sign up for the Cracking the Pre-K through 4 free email course that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, just go ahead, check that email, because I've sent you quiz 1, so you can also check your readiness for this lesson. That was the end of lesson 1 for this module 3 masterclass. And if you want access to lessons 2 and 3, plus the quizzes that accompany each lesson, our full-length timed practice tests, and our comprehensive study guide, just click the link that you see on the screen now and get full access to enroll into our test prep. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck on your exam. Hey, what are you still doing here? Use the link above. Enroll at teacherpreps.com and make passing simple.